Have you ever stopped to think about how we manage to feed billions of people on a planet where water is getting scarcer by the day? Well, a huge part of the answer lies in a field of engineering that's pretty much as old as civilization itself. Today, we're going to dive into a crash course on irrigation engineering.
Okay, imagine this for a second. You're a student, your final exam is in less than 2 weeks, and you're staring at an 11-chapter syllabus you have to cover. It's one of those high-stakes situations that forces you to focus on just one thing, what is absolutely essential to know. And that's exactly the game plan we're using today. We're going to take that high-pressure study strategy and use it to boil down the essence of irrigation engineering. So forget all the fluff, all the obscure details. We are laser-focused on the core concepts that really, truly matter. All right, let's jump right in. Our cram session is officially on. The mission? To nail down the what, the why, and the how of irrigation in just the next few minutes. So let's start with the most fundamental question of all. In a world that has rain and rivers, why do we even need to engineer irrigation in the first place? It might seem kind of obvious, but really breaking it down is key. You see, irrigation isn't just about giving plants a drink, it's the bedrock of our entire food system. So let's start with a really solid definition. Now, notice the key word here, artificial. We're not talking about just leaving things up to Mother Nature and hoping for the best. No, irrigation is the deliberate, human-controlled application of water, all tailored to exactly what a specific crop needs. It's right at that intersection of engineering and agriculture. So why is this human touch so crucial? Well, because relying on rain alone is a massive gamble. One year you get a trickle, the next you get a flood. Irrigation gives us the stability we need. It lets us do amazing things like grow super thirsty crops like sugarcane in dry regions. It lets farmers get more than one harvest a year. And most importantly, it is our absolute best defense against the terrifying threats of drought and famine. But like any big engineering project, it's not a perfect fix. For every major benefit that irrigation brings to the table, there's a potential downside that we have to be really careful to manage. It's a classic engineering trade-off. And what's really fascinating here is how irrigation is kind of a double-edged sword. On one hand, the good stuff is huge. We're talking way more food, clean energy from dams, protection from floods, new jobs, and even refilling our underground water reserves. But on the flip side, if you mess it up, it can be a disaster. Too much water leads to waterlogging, which basically drowns the plant roots. The runoff can drag nasty fertilizers into our groundwater, and all that standing water, it becomes a 5-star resort for disease-carrying mosquitoes. So, how do engineers try to get all those good things while avoiding the bad? Well, it all starts with choosing the right basic approach. And broadly speaking, every single irrigation technique falls into one of two major categories. Surface irrigation is probably the one you picture in your head, water flowing across the land, just guided by gravity. Subsurface irrigation, on the other hand, is way more sneaky. It's all about delivering water from below the ground, right to the plant's lifeline, its roots. Both are totally valid strategies, but they lead to some really cool and different techniques out in the real world. So how do these two big ideas, surface and subsurface, actually turn into a practical toolbox for farmers and engineers? Let's take a look at some of the most clever and common techniques out there. Let's start with a little scenario. Picture a field of potatoes, planted in these perfect, neat rows. You've got to water the plants, right? But you definitely don't want to just flood the entire field. So what's the smartest way to do it? You use the ridge and furrow method. And honestly, this is just simple, effective engineering at its best. The crops, your potatoes, are planted up on the high ridges. Then the water is sent flowing only through the low channels, the furrows. The water then soaks sideways into those ridges, getting moisture right to the roots without wasting a single drop on the empty space between the rows. So simple and so effective. Okay, but that method is perfect for crops planted close together in rows. What happens if you're trying to grow something like mango trees in an orchard, where every tree is spaced way far apart? Just flooding that whole area would be a massive waste of water. The principle here is just plain logical. Give the water only where it's needed. This is the whole idea behind basin irrigation. You basically just build a small circular or square basin around the base of each tree. Then you just fill up that little basin with water, which soaks directly down to the root zone of that one tree. Absolutely zero water is wasted on the empty ground in between. Brilliant.
Now, while these traditional methods are just genius in their simplicity, the challenges we're facing in the 21st century, I'm talking extreme droughts, a booming population, they demand even better efficiency and precision. And this is where the modern high-tech irrigation systems really come into play. So let's look at the two heavyweights of modern irrigation, sprinkler and drip. Think of sprinkler systems as creating your own personal, controlled rainstorm, showering crops from above. They're great for covering huge areas, but they have a big weakness: evaporation. On a hot, windy day, a ton of that water can just vanish into thin air. Drip irrigation, sometimes called trickle irrigation, is like the ninja of the irrigation world. It's a network of pipes that delivers water with surgical precision, one single drop at a time, right to the base of the plant. Evaporation is basically a non-issue, which makes it our most powerful weapon for growing food in the driest places on Earth.
So what's the golden rule here? What's the big takeaway from all this? It's that in irrigation engineering, there is no golden rule. There's no one best method. It's always a moving target, this complex puzzle where you have to think about the crop, the terrain, the soil, the climate, and of course, the cost. It's a puzzle that needs a unique solution for every single field. And that brings us to our final and maybe the most important question of this whole crash course. As we face this monumental challenge of feeding more and more people on a warming planet, the humble art and science of irrigation has never been more vital. So I'll leave you with this. Which one of these tools, from the ancient wisdom of a simple furrow to the cutting-edge precision of drip systems, do you think will hold the key to our survival?